Hey guys, it's Adele. I'm just here at my home in Mexico. I thought I'd film before I head out to the pool today. So what I want to talk about is the subject matter of actually getting some kind of clarity on what it is that you're doing with your life anyway. And what I mean by this is I think that for most of us, we're so deeply in a coping pattern. It is so bad how deeply we're in a coping pattern that we never stop to think, what do we actually want? We're actually just thinking, I want the pain to go away. Now, I fully understand this. I've done years and years of sales and marketing work, and in sales and marketing work, the main thing we focus on is the main thing that most people feel like they're on fire. And what you want to do is find an area where people think that they're on fire and offer to put out the fire. So, for example, if they're like flat broke, you just say, well, are you flat broke? Do you want to stop being flat broke? Do you want the fire to go out? Here's a solution. What ends up happening is people say, okay, they end up buying because they are in so much pain. Likewise, if someone, let's say that they're like lonely in relationship, they can't meet anyone, you're like, hey, do you want to meet the person for you? Do you want to become a completely lovable person? And they are into that because they want the pain to go away. But the problem is that most people don't know what they actually want. This is a major, major problem that I see in general, is that the average person just doesn't know what they want. So, I mean, like, for example, if you look at the political stuff that's going on right now, the left complains against the right complains against the left. I'd say that probably for like 95% of them, maybe like 99% of them, they don't even know what happiness looks like in general. They don't know what they want. They just know what they hate. They just know what they're against. They've never really designed their life to look at what they really want. Let me tell you about this because I've done experiments with this with clients that I've had in the past. So for most people, you're already maxed out on time and money to do the things you want to anyway. So for the average person, to go on a 2-week vacation once a year is already incredibly difficult. They don't even know what they want. They can barely get away for a vacation. If they get away on the vacation, they're miserable on their vacation because like their brain neurochemistry has adjusted and they're stuck in the same place. For the person that wants to lose weight, they lose the weight and then they just feel really insecure that they get so much attention. For someone like me, right, I wanted a bunch of money online and it was great for a while and then I just got scared and overwhelmed by it. Right, so for most people, they're just focusing on what they don't want, The average person hasn't really audited what their life should actually look like. So let me give you some examples. Let's say like right now, you're looking to get an apartment. You're probably going to choose an apartment that's within your price range, but you're probably not going to include in your budget the things that you want to do that are actually fun, right? So let's say, for example, you want to travel for 3 months a year. The average person is not going to budget an apartment that allows for them to go travel for 3 months a year, right? The average person is not going to budget a vehicle or a phone plan or whatever it is that allows them to travel for 3 months a year. They don't consider that. They're just thinking what they can afford on average. The average person, for example, let's say they want to get into a relationship. They've never stopped and thought, well, I'm an unhappy person in general, so if I get a relationship, I'm not going to be happy anyway, right? So they're only thinking at a one-dimensional level for this issue. So if you actually want to think about what a good life looks like, let me give you a simple example. Here's what a good life would look like in my opinion. Like, this is just my opinion. Everyone has their own view of whatever is good for them. So a good life, in my opinion, I like to have a lot of downtime, to not worry about anything, right? I like to rest, to read, to go on walks. I've lived much of my life like this for the past 10 years. So for me, I like to live very well below my means so that I'm not constantly having to chase or worry about money. For those of you who follow me like on social media, you see that I have like a lot of these like deep thoughts. You know, I like to write about my experiences of noticing things. So I like to live in a very calm state where I can be tuned into my energy, where I can work on my energy, work on myself, not where I'm constantly distracted by work, being in a work environment, being around other people. And you know, you see like, you know, I'm like out walking in nature all the time. I'm out like petting cats and playing and just enjoying life. And this has all been because of time that I've put into things that I am passionate about to become the kind of person that I am today. So I kind of do that to kind of inspire you to be like, wow, I would love to have some time to relax. I would love to see everyone having the time and energy to let their nervous system come down. and relax. Like, you know, the whole thing we went through with COVID, it really made me realize as well that I didn't want to keep just working at business and building business and making money. I wasn't really willing to just keep working for money because I realized that they could take my job away at any moment. You know, the things I want to spend money on could be shut down without notice. So I was like, okay, well, why would I be motivated to just like keep working when at any minute all of it could get shut down? So I really started thinking about what is actually important to my journey in life. What am I going to be grateful that I did before I died? So, I mean, you still need to have money to be able to go and do things, but I'm really not inclined to just continually just dedicate my whole life to work and social media following and followers, because all of that, YouTube, everything, it could be taken down at any moment, right? So let's just bring it back to you. So what I want you to do, I want you to think to yourself, you know, how could you spend at least an entire day of the week completely to yourself, where you have that time to do whatever you want, to really reflect, to be out in nature and not have to worry about anything. And even if you want to think about traveling, for example, if you want to travel, right? Like I live here in Mexico now. I wasn't a big traveling person before, but I worked on changing myself from the inside out. So let's say you want to travel. For me, like I travel differently now. I'm approaching 40, you know, I have like online business. I have some stuff going on online that I haven't told you guys about yet. So I have the freedom and I have the options. But I mean, back in the day when I did not have those things, I still found a way to make it work. Like I used to work at Southgate Mall at the Clinique counter. I was education manager. And my mother had died probably about a year prior to that, and I was still going through so many crazy things. And could I afford to go on a vacation? No. But I would often do things like on my break, I would have like an hour of breaks stretched out over across the shift, and I would bundle my breaks together into 1 hour. And I would drive down to this beautiful park that I found. And I still can remember the feeling of driving down, because it was like this curving, winding road with these big trees. And there weren't a lot of people who knew about it for some reason. So I would go drive down to this park and I would sit down there and I would like look out at everything. I actually filmed a video there from like a really long time ago. I'll link it here. But yeah, I would drive down there and just relax. And I would just like listen to the sound of the wind in the trees. I would think about life. I would commune with nature. And that was how I felt alive. I remember bringing some of the girls from like the perfume counter, like I was chatting. I'm like, hey, do you want to go to this park? And I remember one time I brought my friend there. She's like, this is a little weird. Like, this is what you do in your break? And I'm like, yeah. So we brought our lunches and we went and we sat there and we just ate and looked at the trees. It was really cute. That was a really special moment that I shared with her. I wasn't living a lifestyle where I could afford to do what I wanted. I would go to like different places, like, you know, I lived in Edmonton. I would go to like Elk Island Park, which is like a 45-minute drive away. Or I would take my little Toyota Tercel and I would drive to Jasper for the weekend. Or Banff. This is like world-class destinations of mountains that, you know, just after a few hours of driving, I would sleep in my car sometimes. Sometimes I would splurge and get a hotel or bring a girlfriend and we would split the hotel. So that's the first thing I would actually ask you to do, is like start auditing. How can you actually do the things you want on the cheap? Or local in your city that's actually pretty cool to like break the week up so it's not this big blur. Drumheller, I used to love Drumheller. You could drive there from most places in Alberta and it looks like a completely different landscape. It looked kind of like you were in the desert, you know, in Arizona. It had all the dinosaurs and fossils and places for hiking. That reminds me of my childhood, right? Like we didn't have a whole lot of money, but I felt like my life was really enriched. Like we lived across the street from a large park. It was Coronation Park in Edmonton. And there was the planetarium, the Space Science Center. I lived within walking distance of a library. I have become used to just finding ways to entertain myself that are interesting and meaningful. And you can find these where you live, no matter what price level that you're at, right? But a lot of people, you know, they are just, and this is what frustrated me too, like when I try to meet people or make friends, they get completely enslaved into the system where they really just, it sucks out all of their life force energy, their interest, and they become very self-centered. You know, they don't know how to have natural curiosity, and all they want to do is to sleep, eat, go to work. And they don't really create a space for transcendence or magic or beauty or taking chances in life. And these things add up over time. And then the system has got you right where they want you, just as like a complete battery. I would say even for like the majority of people, even people who are watching this video, if you went to these places and had these experiences that I'm talking about, you probably wouldn't even enjoy it. You would just be like bored, or you'd much rather like sit there in front of your screen or like go pick a fight with your significant other. It's just the things that you're addicted to day to day that you can't even enjoy those things. Like you say that you would. You say like, oh, I'd love to move to Mexico. I'd love to do this and that, but you don't actually do it. You just talk about it, think about it. You see these people, you know, they argue the politics, the left and right, you know, and the reality is that they couldn't even enjoy their life no matter what happened. Right? Maybe turn that back and look at yourself a little bit more, right? Like honestly, like look at your own life and ask yourself, like, does your life actually look how you want it to look like? And so ask yourself, like, how do you want to design your life? We tend to focus on more like, are you broke, or are you single and lonely, or like, are you fat, right? These are from a marketing standpoint, right? People are so brainwashed on just getting rid of pain that they never think about thriving. Now, I don't really think about getting rid of pain that often, right? 80% of my time is thinking about how to thrive, right? Life can be very boring. You actually have to make it entertaining, not just sitting there letting your life waste away from you, right? I'm sitting here, I'm going to be almost 40 this year. I've done so many cool things in my life that I'm so proud of. I've just realized I've had like a really beautiful, amazing life. When I stop and think about it, it's unreal. I have so many stories and things I've done that just are completely unbelievable, things I've experienced. And I'm still working on it, constantly going forward. So myself, I'm a huge fan of capitalism. I love the feeling of commerce, making money, people being successful. But I actually do think that capitalism causes a lot of problems. But the thing is, I also think that when you bring in communism to try and solve the problems of capitalism, it actually makes things much worse. So the problems with capitalism is to have the government come in and be communist and be your dad and kind of tell you what to do, right? So that's not the solution either. So funnily enough, even though I hate the solution of communism like vehemently, I can still agree with a lot of the problems that communism has with capitalism. I actually agree with a lot of the diagnoses that they have. I just don't agree with their solution. So what I feel is the solution is education, personally. I think that if you're dumb enough to let the capitalistic system brainwash you, then you've kind of got it coming, right? So the information is out there. You have to make a decision where you're like, okay, I want to live a good life, right? Like the government shouldn't have to make you live a good life. You have to want to live a good life. Plus, when you get communism in there, it's a complete nightmare. Like people get killed, all this stuff happens, right? So the point being, as far as the system, you have to realize that you're being brainwashed by the capitalistic system. You're being heavily, heavily brainwashed by it. It doesn't mean that the answer is communism, but you also have to understand that you are being brainwashed, like in a major, major way. Now, some people talk about mixed systems. It's all a mixed system. We're in a mixed system now. Don't wait for daddy government to tell you how to live a good life. Don't wait for the mommy and daddy and the government to give you permission to do what you've got to do. You got to start asking yourself in detail, as frustrated as you are with life, what would a good life even look like, both internally and externally? So start looking at that and asking yourself, what would a good life even look like? How would you budget the money from where you are now? How would you budget the time? Find hobbies. That's hard enough thing to do, to find things that you like to do in general, right? For me, I have a high degree of openness. I like to try a lot of new things. I love to learn new things. I've just gotten hooked on martial arts, so that's like a thing for me. So I hope this has offered you some kind of insight that you maybe didn't have before, a way of thinking that you could possibly have. Here's the beautiful street sweeping lady. I'm actually going to be doing a papaya fast for the next few days, so that'll be interesting. Remember, just keep learning about yourself, about social skills, about communication, about making money online, about investing, about traveling. Find these ways to enrich your life. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. Don't sit around and wait for permission to do it. Live a legendary life, okay? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now. you.